Hello, everybody, and welcome to the podcast called VerSLAPpen. What we're going to talk about is F1. We're going to talk about race. We're going to talk about standout drivers. We're going to be talking about best performing drivers. And we're talking about the worst performing drivers. I've got my buddy Namo. Say hello.
Hello, guys.
So yeah, we're going to be talking about so many great stuff. If you're new to this thing, make sure you hit that follow, subscribe, like, and share this with your friends. Try to get this really big. And if you really enjoy this episode, maybe if you just leave a comment down, you can might be appearing in the next podcast. I know, crazy.
Oh my god! Wow! Oh my god!
But only if you do these things. Anyways, let's stop with the banter. So we're going to be talking about F1. Now, if you don't know what F1 is, I suggest you click off. You have 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Nice. Okay, but if you wanted to learn about F1, this is the place to do it. We are super inclusive. Everything is going to be great. And yeah, so we're talking about like drivers, Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen, Carlos Sainz, and all those great drivers. So now you want to get straight into it?
Okay, but first of all, I just want to say this season so far has been absolutely on fire from the start to
it's crazy.
where we're at so far. Okay,
definitely one of the better seasons. We've got so many new Grand Prix winners, like Daniel Ricciardo, who's on Grand Prix since he was in Red Bull. Esteban Ocon, who of course, what a legend.
Yeah, first McLaren win in a very long time.
Yeah,
we also had the Monaco race where we had
that was crazy. Yeah, it was also
Max
had
Verstappen.
the first team do a 1-2. I know McLaren 1-2, but yeah, it's been absolutely crazy. So let's talk about the first race, which is the Russian Grand Prix. So let's get straight to it.
So the weekend was pretty good. We had Lando Norris go on pole, George Russell P3, Carlos Sainz P2. Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen.
Because going into qualifying, like after qualifying, I was like, okay, we're gonna have Lando Norris and George Russell on the podium, and then looking again at the standings, it's like, what happened to them? It's a bit crazy, don't you think?
Yeah, and even before the race, we were expecting Sochi to be a boring race because
it's not
them. Yeah,
the corners are pretty dry. It turned out amazing.
Yeah. But it turned out being a very good race, especially like in the rain and stuff with Lando Norris, of course, the heartbreak.
Heartbreak.
I'm sure everybody's sad about it, even if you're not a Lando fan.
You gotta feel bad for him. You gotta feel for him. But it would have been his first F1 win, pretty sure.
Yeah, it would have been his first ever F1 win. It was his first pole though, so.
I mean, hey, at least he's going in the right direction. Like, did he choose to change the tires, or was it the McLaren team that didn't want to change?
So the McLaren team was asking him if he wanted to come and pit, but Lando basically said no.
Track very slippery from here to turn 10. Lots of cars going off.
Yeah, shut up.
So.
Oh no!
So he took part of the blame on it. He can't blame on Bottas anymore, like Hungary. So
yeah.
I
mean, you gotta feel bad for him. Like he was having an amazing Grand Prix, and of course, in the final moments that has to happen. But let's talk about the elephant in the room. Verstappen from last position to second. I think P2. I think that just demonstrates Verstappen's greatness. Like no matter like how bad the situation is, he can always turn it around. And I think this is why we're seeing such an interesting fight for the top. You know what I mean? So who do you got? Who do you got? Hamilton or Verstappen?
I think Verstappen might win it because
this
season he's been outstanding so far.
Outstanding, 100%. Yeah.
If he doesn't get a DNF by Lewis for those like two from Silverstone, if he didn't get that DNF, then I feel like he'll be way ahead right now.
And it's getting very close. I think it's the closest we've ever seen it to be, because like over the past few seasons, it's been not that close to, you know what I mean? Like Mercedes running away with it as usual.
I think last time we had a driver fight for the title in the last race was 2016, Nico Rosberg.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure about that.
It was such a long time ago too, and I think this is also really good for F1 because now they can market to great drivers instead of just marketing Lewis Hamilton. But now we've got two different perspectives: a Red Bull great driver and going against a Lewis Hamilton Mercedes. But I think in the next few years, I think it's gonna be a Red Bull domination, because to me, Mercedes looks like they're going down on the decline. If you know what I mean? Because like they haven't been as great. And I think like the next season, I think all cars can be reset. Am I correct?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. they have
So I mean, like it's gonna be like, and also Mercedes didn't get a penalty for doing too much research on their car or something. So I really believe that this is the time for Red Bull to really snatch it from them. But yeah, I mean, it's been a crazy race. We also want to talk about George Russell. What happened? It was crazy.
he had a good qualifying.
Amazing qualifying, P3, yeah, and then
Yeah,
he
like
finished
in Spa.
P10. What happened? Now, what happened in with George Russell in the Russian Grand Prix?
I think it was his strategy. The strategy wasn't really worked as well.
Yeah,
He went to the pit and
what?
then he came out like 10th, like in the
Yeah,
bottom
and
half.
couldn't really overtake anyone.
Yeah,
And wait, so you see, he went for an overcut strategy, or no, undercut, right? Undercut,
yeah,
right?
I think so. Yeah,
Failed miserably.
but
And
of
then since
course
he just, yeah,
he's very good on a Saturday. Like we saw in Spa, he was almost
yeah,
going pole.
he's amazing,
Like
George Russell. I think that Mercedes did a really good move in putting him into a Mercedes car next year. So we might see a 3 title races.
yeah,
Hamilton, George Russell, and VerSLAPpen.
or
So it's
perhaps
gonna be
Lando Norris.
yeah. We never know Lando Norris. How long is Lando Norris gonna be in a Mercedes for? Like how
I
long will
don't
he
think
be in?
so. I think he would stay with McLaren and be loyal because
He-
McLaren right now is one of
yeah.
it's kind of like almost those top teams now.
Yeah, they're really up and coming.
Yeah.
It's like Ferrari. The thing is, like, I don't really think Ferrari is not the team that we used to see, because back in like a few years ago, they would be the third team by far. But now, last season with the horrible engines and horrible design, and then this year they're coming back up with Carlos Sainz and Leclerc, and I think, like, as in Monaco, I remember when we saw Leclerc in pole and then he just lost it. I think that for Ferrari are also on the downfall. What do you think with Ferrari?
I think okay. I think Ferrari is, for me, in my opinion, I think Ferrari is coming up, especially after last season. I mean, last
Yeah,
season I think
definitely,
they
definitely.
dropped really pretty far, pretty deep. But this
Yeah,
season they're starting to climb back. I think they're at I think right now they're the same spot that Racing Point was in last year.
100%. Yeah,
Oh, and
I
Racing
mean, Racing
Point,
Point did really well. What
yeah.
Aston Martin, they did really
But
well.
now
Sebastian Vettel.
this season Aston Martin has quickly almost turned into a Haas F1 team.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think for me, I would think Alpine is better than Aston Martin right now.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Alpine are getting the points on the board, but I don't think they can stick to Fernando Alonso pairing alongside Esteban Ocon for too long. Because yes, Fernando Alonso is doing really well right now, but he's an old driver. They need
Yeah,
to. I would love them to pick like Yuki Tsunoda or Giovinazzi and see how they do in a car who's fighting for midfield. You know what I mean? Or maybe
yeah,
Alex Albon.
or maybe some rookie drivers from F2 like Guangzhou.
100%. Because Yuki Tsunoda, he hasn't been performing that well, but he's performing pretty good for a AlphaTauri car. But I feel like if it was in an Alpine or a Ferrari or an Aston Martin, he'd be pushing the boundaries a bit more, getting more points onto the board. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I think so because I think AlphaTauri is expecting more from Yuki right now, so I
Hmm.
think he would be better. I think if he was placed in a better car, maybe like an Alpine
Yeah.
or Aston Martin.
And another question is, do you think Pierre Gasly will forever stay in AlphaTauri? Because I mean, that's the car I feel like you can only do well in. So what's your thoughts on
Yeah,
that?
I think when anybody gets put into a either Mercedes or Red Bull seat as a second driver, comparing to like driving
Yeah.
against like Max Verstappen or Lewis Hamilton, I think
Hmm.
there's gonna be lots of pressure on them, and I think it will get into their heads, and maybe
Yeah,
I
but
think they're better off against like other
yeah, but
drivers in lower.
yeah, but then that puts like, and like, with that being said, like when you see like big drivers crumbling to the pressure, Daniel Ricciardo, Alex Albon, but then that puts a lot of respect for drivers like Valtteri Bottas, who was an excellent number 2 to
Yeah,
Lewis Hamilton for years, never got the respect he needed. And do you think? Okay, here's a question: if you think Valtteri Bottas was in like a car like a Red Bull, do you think he would have already won a world being a champion, like number 1?
I think if he didn't have the pressure of Max on him, then he could have had the chance of winning the title. He's
Yeah,
an
he's
honestly a very good driver, but he's just put in the shadow of Lewis
underrated.
Hamilton. Yeah,
100%, yeah. Because he's always in the shadow of Lewis Hamilton, and he'll never win the world's title. Yeah,
he also gets lots of podiums too, along with Hamilton, bringing Mercedes some
100%.
extra points.
Yeah, and he's going to an Alfa Romeo next year, right?
Yeah, Alfa Romeo. I think replacing Kimi. Kimi's retiring.
What's your thoughts on that? Why do you think he's performing Alfa Romeo?
I think it's gonna take him some time to like get used to it, but he's honestly a great driver. He really can prove that he can perform in like almost every car in Williams and Mercedes.
100%.
So, but of course he's switching to a Ferrari engine next year. So, I think
That
we
is
have to see on
true.
it. I think it's very too early to call right now. We might have to see after like preseason testing or the first
Yeah,
round.
yeah. But so okay, another point let's talk about is the Italian Grand Prix. So we talk about the Russian Grand Prix. We talk about the highlights, the lowlights. With George Russell sadly not getting a podium, Lando Norris sadly not getting a podium. A top three with Lewis Hamilton, Verstappen, and Carlos Sainz, and then Ricciardo coming in
And of
P4.
course, Lewis Hamilton 100th win, the
100,
first ever
yeah.
F1 driver.
I mean, you gotta congratulate. As much as I hate him so much for like just winning over and over and over again, he is one of the greatest drivers we've ever seen.
Yeah.
Potentially better than Michael Schumacher. We'll never actually know because if Verstappen actually takes his title away from Verstappen, away from Hamilton, then I do you think? Okay. So here's the question. So if Red Bull potentially win this year's world title and the constructors title, do you think we'll see the same Mercedes, or do you think it'll just be a complete domination for Red Bull?
I think it'll be complete domination for Red Bull, just like Valentino Rossi and Marc Marquez in MotoGP. When we saw Marquez come up and then Valentino just kind of goes into the shadow for the last 2 years.
Yeah, 100%.
I think it'd be like that because basically, like the
Potentially,
position they finish in,
yeah,
there's gonna be like different amount of money that you've been given. So then
facts,
Red Bull's
100%.
gonna make the most
Yeah,
out of that money.
and they also have like a huge funding on them. So if we see
Yeah.
Red Bull win this, it'd probably be the end of um what we
Mercedes.
know as Mercedes' complete domination.
But of course, they still have George Russell in there. And
100%.
along with Nick DeVries, maybe when Lewis Hamilton decides to retire, that won't be a bad lineup. George Russell, Nick DeVries, or it could be Lance Stroll.
Yeah,
So we'll just have to wait and see.
100%. Anyways, so after we talk about the Russian Grand Prix, let's talk about the second Grand Prix, which is the Italian Grand Prix, the Autodromo Nazionale Monza. One of people's favorite tracks is the amount of turns, crashes, and just overall excitement around it. So, Emma, what do you have to say about the Monza Grand Prix?
I think Monza, the track already is very iconic, from like the
100.
fast speed, like the tempo of speed, and
100%, yeah.
we'll also introduce the sprint qualifying after Silverstone to Monza. And I think, in my opinion, I think the sprint qualifying works really well because normally F1 fans, I don't think anybody watches. I mean, some people watches the Friday when they had to practice, but now since we have qualifying on Friday, more people are starting to watch it now. And then we of course have the sprint qualifying on Saturday and the race on Sunday.
Yeah.
And of course, Lewis and Max crashing was something that we
Yeah.
were hoping for because then we would know that someone else is gonna win.
100%, yeah. I was kind
And
of
then
excited when they crashed. I was like, yes, a brand new winner. Who's it gonna be?
and then
Yeah.
it turned out to be Daniel Ricciardo and then Lando Norris, the 1-2, and then with Valtteri Bottas. And then on the podium we saw the legendary Shui with Lando
Yes.
Norris, Zach Brown, Daniel Ricciardo doing it. Valtteri Bottas' reaction was perfect. Yeah, it was a great race. It was a great race for McLaren, of course. And it wasn't a
100%.
very good race for Red Bull because Sergio Perez with I think was it the time penalty?
I think it was, yeah. Where did he end up? He ended up finishing fifth.
Yeah.
Getting 10 points. Not the greatest for him.
Yeah.
But yeah, then the time penalty hurts. So we end up seeing a McLaren 1-2, then Valtteri Bottas, followed by Charles Leclerc. Very good performance from a Ferrari car there. Sergio
Especially
Perez.
in the home race.
Yeah. You haven't seen a Ferrari one in their home race for such a long time nowadays, don't you think?
I think it was 2019 when Charles Leclerc won. The atmosphere
Yeah.
was crazy in Monza. The Monza Podium will always be iconic.
Iconic.
Yeah,
Let
with
me
the
see.
fans on the track.
Yeah, S1 Ocon coming in P10, Norris P9, Fernando Alonso P8, and Lance Stroll P7. So, any thoughts on any thoughts on Sebastian Vettel and not making a podium or
I
making
think
a dent?
he made a couple podiums in Baku, but then
Yeah,
of course he got the podium in Hungary. But then that was
it got robbed from it. Oh, it's so tough. It got
the
DQ'd.
fuel. That really
He
hurts though.
could have won. Yeah, he could have won.
Sebastian went from the most hated in F1 to the most loved in F1 now.
Who?
Which
Vettel?
Sebastian Vettel, yeah.
Yeah, it used to be hates and everyone's like, oh, we love you, we love you.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think the Monza podium for the last couple years has always given us like the best podium. Last year we had Pierre Gasly, I think it was Carlos Sainz and then Lance Stroll on the podium at Monza, which I think
Yeah.
was absolutely crazy because from the start of the race I would never expect Pierre Gasly to win that Monza Grand Prix. And I would also
Mhm.
never expect Daniel Ricciardo to win this Monza Grand Prix, along with the McLaren one too.
Yeah, he ended up getting 2 extra points because VerSLAPpen and something like that because he ended up getting 27 points, which I mean is very good for the McLaren. So do you think McLaren can push the top 3, or are they in the 3rd position right now, or what position are they in right
Yeah,
now?
I think they're in 3rd, but I don't think they have a chance of winning this title right now because
No, it's too
only
far.
7 more races to go.
Yeah, it'd be very unlikely if they end up winning. But
Yeah,
I mean, we never know. We never know.
maybe they could be
Um,
fighting for the top 2 next year.
the next season, yeah, if they, because like in the early part of the season, they weren't doing that well, and then only the end of the part of the season, they're actually picking up speed. Because the Grand Prix we have less is the Turkish Grand Prix, United States. I love the United States Grand Prix. That's a really good Grand Prix.
Yeah.
Mexican Grand Prix, amazing. Brazilian and Saudi, and then we finish it off with the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Abu Dhabi will be an interesting Grand Prix.
Yeah,
Um,
they
where
fixed
they will,
some part of the circuit.
yeah, because I think it was like, what was the problem with the circuit? It was like,
I think
was
lots
it?
of fans didn't like it because there's not that much
Yeah,
overtaking opportunities.
yeah,
And
true.
also we
What's your
have Qatar coming in
yeah,
after Brazil, which would be
yeah,
very interesting, a new circuit.
yeah, very new track.
And
What's your favorite track? Like, which track do you like?
I think Brazil because they always deliver some good overtakings and some good races. And some
Sure.
heartbreaks like Alex Albon and Lewis Hamilton.
Oh
I
yes.
mean
Wait, well,
that
Alex Albert was like P2 or something.
yeah, he was
P1.
yeah, he
But
was
I didn't know he
he's
was on pole.
P2.
Oh yeah,
Max
and then he
Verstappen was
all lost it.
leading. And it still
Uh,
hurts.
that is so pain.
Lewis Hamilton is just like an Alex Albon magnet. Even in Austria that we saw last year, they collided
Yeah,
with each other again. Alex had a chance of winning that race, and it hurts a lot.
I feel so bad for him, but I luckily he'll be in a Williams car this year.
Yeah, Williams. And Williams are on they're rising up very high. I think they passed Alfa Romeo already. Or I'm not really sure about that. But they definitely passed the Haas F1 team.
Yeah. I mean,
Haas
Haas
F1
just
has dropped a lot. They went from going to Q3 to not escaping Q1.
it's so sad. It's like they're
Yeah.
just a joke. They barely finish. Like they're normally just a P20 and P19 in all the
Yeah.
races.
I think
But
Roman Grosjean and Kevin Magnussen, they were very underrated, but
yeah,
they were
yeah,
just put
agree.
in a not so great car in a Haas.
A tough situation. Yeah,
Yeah.
I would love to see a Magnussen return because I
Mike,
feel like he
yeah.
had some good talent, Magnussen.
I also like to see
But
Grosjean return because he didn't have a proper exit to F1.
was his exit the crash?
Yeah, he had a crash and then he couldn't race for the next 2 races. I think there was 2
Yeah,
races in Bahrain. One is the normal, and then it was the outer circuit, and then it was the Abu Dhabi.
yeah. I
Bahrain will
mean, it's
always be special.
yeah. No matter what, that turn to turn 2 will always be special for that crash was. But even though like there's also been some great overtaking in
Yeah.
Bahrain, So in the final one, we're going to be doing the worst performing drivers of the season. Now, who do you think are performing the worst in the season?
Probably Valtteri Bottas, because he's been dropped a lot, so much compared to last year. I think he haven't got a win yet. Or
He's position 3 is dropping. Yeah, Lando Norris is quickly coming for.
yeah, but we
him.
can't really judge the rookie so far, because it's
Yeah.
the first year, especially like Mazepin and Mick Schumacher, they weren't really put in the best car.
Yeah.
But Yuki
Yeah,
Tsunoda,
probably
of course, first year is already putting up against Pierre Gasly, one of the best in F1 right now.
Yeah. Another driver who's not doing the greatest is Giovinazzi. He's had a lot of time in F1. Do you rate him, or do you think he needs to go? What's your thoughts?
I think he's been very quiet out of everybody in the paddock, but I think maybe give him some more time, because next year he has Valtteri Bottas, who Valtteri
Elevate
Bottas
him.
have been with Mercedes, and he has lots of lots of knowledge from a very top team, and then he might be able to pass that on to Alfa Romeo and give them a good car that Giovinazzi can also like drive in, and that might bring Alfa Romeo up again.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. So yeah, hopefully we can see some more of Giovinazzi. Esteban Ocon, what's your thoughts on him?
I think Ocon, I think he's okay. He got his first win in F1
Yeah.
this year in
Personally,
Hungary.
I think he's doing okay. He's gonna win, but I think if he wants to be a better driver, he needs to have putting points on consistently. If you know what I mean. Like every race, he has to be finishing in the top 10 if he wants to be a consistent driver. Because currently, sometimes he gets P5, P6, P1, P8, and other times he's in the bottom half, like P20, P15. And if you want to be a top driver, you just can't be doing that. You know what I mean? You
It's
just
very
can't be doing that.
inconsistent.
Yeah, sometimes he'll be one really good, and other times he'll just not be the greatest. But
yeah,
either way, episode of the VerSLAPpen podcast. If you've enjoyed, put down on the description. This is us on Spotify. Hit the follow button so you never ever miss a podcast episode. And if you just want to support us, really, just watch our podcast. We don't actually gain any money from this, no matter how much you can support us. we can never gain any money from it. We only do this for fun. We have a lot of schoolwork to do, so we put a lot of effort into this. So if you think that you like us, hit the follow and subscribe. That's all we really want. Thank you so much, and that'll be it. Thank you.